Hey guys, what's up? This is What the Tech, and this is Apple's latest redesigned and upgraded iPad mini, 6th generation. Now, it's been some time since Apple has shown some love towards the iPad mini segment, but this upgrade has been something that people have been surely waiting for. In fact, so much that it was the star of the show in Apple's latest September event. Well, here we have it. Let's check it out. Starting first with design, the iPad mini falls in line of Apple's brand new tablet design ethos that started first with the iPad Pro lineup. Squared off edges, flat sides, and thinner bezels. They're uniform across the entire front display, going edge to edge. Of course, it goes without saying, it's on every tablet except for the budget level entry iPad. The device has quad speaker grills, 2 on both sides for stereo sound when you hold in landscape mode. Over on the front side, the iPad mini has a new 8.3-inch liquid retina display that goes edge to edge with uniform bezels all around. The bezel is a decent size to give room for your palm as well as for your thumb in order to balance the tablet. The closest comparison between this device would actually be the iPad Air as opposed to the iPad Pro, since the Air does share the same Touch ID sensor on the top. The device itself is incredibly small of its new redesign, and it's actually kind of cute. Once you see the box itself, you realize just how small it is, and when you take it out, you realize it's even smaller than you expected. Now, in terms of I/O, this is an area that had massive improvement as well as beleaguered atrophy. Gone is the headphone jack, may rip in peace, but from the ashes of that and the abandonment of lightning, we receive glorious USB-C. Long may it rain. USB-C is such a spectacular and great port that has wide industry adoption, an expansive third party to get exactly the kind of fit you need from it, and such massively increased transfer speeds and makes the lightning port look, well, tired and outdated. I mean, Apple knows this. They claimed it in their marketing after all. Well, except for that last part, tired and outdated. But they do know how great USB-C is. I just can't wait till they make this transition for their iPhone lineup. One could hope. Now onto daily usage. I mainly use the device as a content consumption machine, and before you guys hound me on this isn't meant to play just videos, content consumption means more than just YouTube and Netflix. I also read a lot, and reading is content. The iPad mini slotted into my life a lot easier than I expected. It filled in the area that was between my phone and me actually using a laptop or sit-down computer, because those moments do exist. Sprinkle in me making this my main FaceTime and webcamming device, it was handled really well with the new 12 megapixel ultra-wide front camera. It took advantage of Apple's new center stage feature, which I didn't really care too much because when I personally use FaceTime, I'm staying in one spot. But it's neat, I guess. Also, there's new 2nd generation Apple Pencil support, which makes the iPad mini look kind of ridiculous, but it's there for those that want it. Also, to top off daily usage, I find myself not really using multitasking all that much due to the screen size. Running 2 applications on split view was just silly, and the texts were way too small to the point where they fatigued my eyes relatively quickly. Oh, and to also tack on to the end, the speakers were great. Apple amazes me still with how they make such a tiny device pack so much oomph into the sound. It still sounds good at high volumes too, only at a complete max you start disliking yourself. It can easily drown out the noises of you washing your dishes at the sink. Also, it has a camera, so here are some iPad photos. Front, back, and videos for all the folks who want to use it for school. The photos are okay, still very usable for a tablet. I'm against tablet photography in general, but when you need to take pictures of whiteboards, papers, or notes, it will do you fine. An occasional selfie is always in order. The funny thing about using the front camera is that you're going to have a lot of fingerprint smudges on it. My palm or my fingers naturally want to rest over the front camera, and that's something I found myself cleaning very often. And here is how the front video camera looks with my lights on, and this is how they look with my lights off, which is what most people are going to have. Now, after using the iPad mini for some time, there were 2, maybe 2.5, 3, depending how you cut and dice it, reasons for or things that the iPad mini did really well in, and then there were some experiences that I just didn't like from the iPad mini at all. Of course, let's start off with the good. The iPad mini is incredibly portable. Dare I say, it's very ultra portable, coming at just 293 grams or around a bit heavier, a tad heavier than half a pound. This is something you can easily stow away, either in like the side of a car, into a handbag, or in some instances, into a pocket. I find it so cool how I can personally fit this into my pocket. Not only do I find it cool, it's also a weird flex that other people can do too. There are multiple use cases where having an ultra portable, powerful computer on the go is, well, quite useful. Imagine you're a student who has a lecture hall class, and you know those slide out tables that barely fit the size of a composition notebook? Well, per an Apple Pencil of this, you have a really great note-taking machine. Take it out, and boom boom, there you go. Double tap or swipe up, you got the Notes app. Also, this device can be a great companion for those who are on the road and very mobile, such as real estate agents, for taking pictures on the go of your different listings and properties. This can be a nice handy sidekick for you. And it comes with a camera. that would make sense. The second good thing about the iPad mini is its ease of use, and that's the easy use of iPadOS in general. Now in the past couple years of major iOS updates and iPadOS updates, Apple has allowed iPadOS to become more complicated and complex for its power users, but up to a point. The main selling point of iPadOS, or the main good thing about this, is that it is so easy to get used to, especially with Touch ID integrated in. There's a reason why you could hand a toddler or young children an iPad, and they'll be up to speed on how to use it in a few hours. Having Touch ID paired with this just cements the idea of how easy this is to use. Almost everyone out there and their dog knows how to use a fingerprint sensor at this point. And when you're out and about with an iPad in the field, if you were to bring this out, it probably would be a mini because of its portability. It's better to have Touch ID than Face ID because what we learned from the pandemic as it starts winding down is that having Face ID and a mask kinda sucks. And now for the last point, the halvesy good one. And after I explain it, you guys I hope will understand my point of view here. The iPad mini excels in performance. That's absolutely true. It is performance beast. It shares the latest and greatest processor that comes with the iPhone 13, the A15 Bionic, which has a 6-core CPU and a 5-core GPU if I'm not mistaken, and it can handle everything I threw at it. It is so hard to have a new processor go wrong, and Apple just makes the best in mobile processors. As per usual, any application I had in the background as I went to sleep and I woke up to, they were still up and ready to go, all refreshed and everything. It even handled mobile gaming quite well too. I used to say I'm not much of a mobile gamer, and I probably would say I'm still not much of a mobile gamer, but I just got into Genshin Impact, and it handled it really well. I didn't experience any frame drops at all at really respectable settings. So you may be wondering, with all that good praise about the performance, why would you still give it a half point? Well, the issue is the iPad mini in particular is the kind of item that Apple doesn't frequently update, and due to that, it may be great now. In 2 to 3 years time, if Apple keeps the same price of the product, which they generally tend to do with no sales, it's not worth it anymore. The only thing it has going for it is it being ultra portable. If I recall correctly, the cadence of upgrade for the iPad mini is around the same as the iPhone SE, which as you may know, as more people may know since it's a mobile phone, it takes a while to have Apple upgrade. If you're considering an iPad mini in 2021 or 2022, that's all fine and dandy. That's not something you have to worry about. But it's the years after that this becomes an issue because it will no longer be a high performer. It's all downhill from here. Now onto the negatives in no particular order. It's battery life, no multi-user support, as well as being a very niche product in Apple's lineup. Now first off, battery life. And this is mostly due to the limitations of, well, physics. Because of the size of the iPad mini is impressively thin and small, you just can't jam a big enough battery in here. Now for this mini tablet, I'm averaging around, let's say 2.5 days, which sounds good and all, right? But that's not really great for an Apple tablet. When I pair it with an Apple Pencil and I use my AirPods Pros, it doesn't really last more than a day and a half, honestly. Yes, this machine can definitely punch way above its weight, that's for sure. But if you're going to be gaming or doing anything even moderately intensive, I'd probably keep it plugged in. Secondly, this is more of a broader point against whole of iPadOS, but it's even more apparent with iPad minis, is that the lack of multi-user support on a single tablet. It would be so cool that if you could unlock an iPad with your fingerprint or Face ID, you logged into your account on the iPad mini that has your separate home screen and your wallpaper. Apple contends that each person has a right to privacy, so they need to have their own iPad. I see no particular reason why Apple can't sandbox or partition the internal drive to give each people an allocated space of their own space. And let's say Apple, if they want to pull a Scrooge McDuck move, they can only give that option for higher storage tiers, which would make sense to me. For a lot of people and a lot of younger households, there really is just a family iPad if there is a tablet in the scene in general. And for younger families, I really do think that the options are either the $329 budget iPad or the iPad mini because it fits the hands of the younger ones more. Once those little children get their grubby little hands on this thing, you kind of wish you do have a separate account just for yourself, because then sooner or later you find that your iPad is going to be full of children apps, children games, and YouTube Kids. Thirdly and lastly, as a point, this is a very niche product, and as I was using it, and even though I enjoyed it, I kept thinking, who can I recommend this for? Like, honestly, if someone asked me they're looking for a tablet and we narrow it down to it's going to be an Apple tablet, as most people do get, even if you have an Android, I could usually recommend them the entry-level budget iPad, and if they want some more niceties, I can push them towards the iPad Air, which is those two fill the need for the vast majority of people. If you're the kind of person who needs a 120Hz display because you felt and seen the glories of it, you're probably gonna get an iPad Pro no matter what. But the iPad mini is kind of awkward in the lineup. I just realized, it's the middle child. That's why it doesn't get as much love. It has a smaller screen than the budget entry-level iPad, which starts at $329, even though it costs more. And for a lot of people out there, that means a lot, just screen size. And then even though this has, at the moment, the better and faster processor, the iPad Air, which costs $100 more, is technically performance-wise inferior. But if you upgrade to an iPad Air, you also get the ability to option in a physical keyboard that connects via smart connector, because the iPad mini does not have one. And I kind of get why Apple didn't add one. It would be a very small netbook device. Remember those? You kind of gotta know personally of yourself whether or not you need an iPad mini before you get an iPad mini. Because in most cases, and I tend to agree with this, a larger screen just makes the whole experience much better. Even if it's not a laminated screen, it's still better to have a larger screen with more screen real estate. So where does this exactly leave us? Well, this is just another sobering moment to remind ourselves that, unfortunately, or fortunately for Apple, the best iPad competitor is another iPad. There isn't much to compare this to when you factor in all the categories of sizing, pricing, and performance. And I'm not even factoring the long software support that Apple guarantees in terms of security and updates. Because here's one thing the iPad mini has besides being portable. It definitely has performance. It definitely has a okay to good screen. You can still watch pretty decent shows and movies on it, but it's nothing to ride home with. And if you're okay with potentially charging every day and every other day, then the iPad mini is a good option there. Also, another market this is good for that I haven't mentioned yet is if you're already a previous iPad mini owner. The iPad mini is great for those that know that the iPad mini would be great for them. This isn't for people who are on the fence, because if you have to consider whether or not to get an iPad mini, then you probably shouldn't get one. This is for those that know that ultra portability is high up there, and then comes performance, display, battery life, camera, etc. And if you're a current owner of the previous iPad mini, of course, this was always going to be a solid upgrade. If you're the kind of person who wants to stick with the iPad mini is your ride or die in terms of tablets, then, well, there weren't really much options else there, were there? It's a brand new redesign, new chipset, better performance, better camera, better a lot of things, actually better everything. And of Apple Pencil 2 support, I guess, if you care about that. You're the kind of person that rejects the idea that larger is better. And well, Apple has a tablet for you. And this is their commitment that they take the mini segment very seriously still. Thanks for watching, guys. This is What to Tech. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.